Hi guys, it's Dr. Roz and welcome back to Live with Dr. Roz for Marriage Exposed exclusively. Tonight we are going to talk about how to communicate effectively. So I started a little early, so I'm going to wait for some more people to join, to log in. I'm excited to be back doing lives in the group. It's been a minute, about 6 months. I took like a little break. So I'm excited to come back and to answer your questions. We have 3 questions tonight from viewers, from members. So I will be answering those questions as well as talking about how to communicate effectively. So we'll wait for some more people to join us. Then we'll get started. Hi, I see someone has joined us. Yay. Welcome. Just tap and give me a little hello so I know you're here. Just let me know that you're here. Send a little heart or something so I know that you're here. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you live, because I know that there's over 10,000 people in this group. I know that the most of you guys live here in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, but there's some all over too in other areas. So I was just actually looking at the demographics of the group today, and it's like so many. You guys really communicate in this group. It's amazing. It's amazing. I think for the week we had 85K posts and comments. So I can't even keep up now so much here in the group. But I thank you guys for rocking it out with me. We've been here about 5 years with the group. So I thank you guys for being a part. And if you've invited people, I was actually adding people today as well. There are like 6.5K people waiting to get in. So consider yourself lucky that you're in here, because I don't know when we're going to get through all those ads, adding people in. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm really excited about what we're talking about tonight, because as a clinical psychologist that work with couples, one of the biggest issues that clients deal with is not knowing how to communicate effectively. So I'm excited that we're going to talk about that tonight. And I'll start with the first question. One of our members asked, why don't married men talk? Why don't they communicate? It sounds like it's an easy question to answer, but there are a myriad of reasons why people don't communicate. So I'll try to give you a couple. One is because they've never been taught how to. So in a marriage, you have to express vulnerability. Well, if you think about it, most guys aren't really taught how to be vulnerable. If they fall at like the age of 1 or 2, they're hearing messages like, get up, be strong, be a man. Men don't cry. Men don't do this. So we tell this to our 1-year-olds when, guys, we know people in their 30s don't really understand what manhood is. So we put that amount of pressure on them, on young boys, and so they never fully learn how to express their emotions. So because of that, once they get into their adult relationships, they just do, like, if you notice with guys, if guys get into a fight, they're friends in the next minute or so. Like, they get into a fight on a pickup game, a basketball, and maybe somebody hits too hard and they might push and grumble, but they're cool. They're cool after that. They're playing again the next week. Whereas for women, we're very relational aggressive. And what I mean by that is that we break down relationships because we aren't physically aggressive, not typically. So we break down relationships. Typically, like, I'll give you an example. If you could think back to when you were in like kindergarten or pre-K and you're like, oh, don't talk to Susie. Susie has, the worms or whatever. She's got the cooties. So then you tell 5 other people, don't talk to Susie. Susie has the cooties. So now you have disrupted 6 relationships with Susie because you're telling everybody about the situation. So that's how really women are aggressive and deal with communication. Whereas for men, they don't learn that skill. They don't learn to really figure out what the emotions are, why they're feeling that way, because they are getting these messages of, you are, be a man, men don't cry, boys don't cry. And so when they get into their adult relationships, trying to communicate that they're hurt, that they're upset, that they're angry, they really don't know how. So most men walk away. Or most men are, I don't want to talk about it. I tell all my female clients in relationships, hi guys, if you're here, just tell me hello. Tell me where you're from. I always like to know where people are from. Tell me hi, say something to me. Hi. I see you guys logging on and coming in. But I tell all my female clients, never tell a guy we need to talk because he's going to shut down. If you want to have a conversation with a man, you just start talking. Start having the conversation. So typically, like if you're at dinner or you're having dinner or if you're lying in bed and say, and I always tell people that it's unfair to blame somebody else for how you feel. So you need to learn how to have I statements. And what I mean by that is when you are having an argument, you should say, I feel, hi, oh, thanks, hey, boo, hey, Renee, thanks, Jocelyn. You should say, I feel that you don't want to be around me rather than you make me feel like you don't want to be around me because you are responsible for your feelings. And sometimes when we're in these tense arguments, we don't recognize that we're feeling something and we're perceiving something that may absolutely be false. And so you have to take ownership on how you feel because another person cannot make you feel any kind of way. You make that choice to feel how you feel. And so I always tell, hey, Quinn. So I always tell people to absolutely use I statements in your conversation if you want to have a productive conversation, argument, or whatever we call it nowadays. Because when you don't do those things and you start saying you did this and you did that and you made me feel this way and because of you I feel this way, people are going to shut down immediately. So if you already have a man who's already not really talking, hey Bruce, how you doing, Bruce? If you already have a man that's not really talking, then when you start doing the you, he's not going to say one word. So that's one indication of why men rarely talk in marriages. One, because they have not learned how to really express those emotions. And then two, if you don't know how to communicate properly and you're always on the blaming someone and not really taking ownership of your own feelings, you're also going to shut somebody down as well. And then three, women, we're really bad about this. We don't allow men to be honest with us. And so a lot of times men don't talk because they don't want to hurt our feelings. Because if you think about it, we're the precious gem, right? We're the jewel. And so if they say anything harsh, then they're going to be perceived as this horrible, bad person, that they are, emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, when they may in fact just be telling you the truth. And so you have to allow your paramour, your husband, your spouse, you have to allow them to have those truth, honest moments with you. Otherwise, you'll never know how they really feel. And so you have to say, and you have to say this, please be honest with me. I will not be upset about what you say. It may hurt, but I recognize that you are telling me your truth and how your perspective on how you see things. And listen, getting information from your spouse is wonderful. You should always do that because it's great feedback. And what I mean by that is that you need to know how you're performing in your relationship, because oftentimes we think that we are amazing in our relationships and we may not be giving our spouse what they need. We may not be giving our paramour what they need. We may not be giving our lover what they need. So you have to make sure that you are open to the feedback. If you are not open to the feedback, men are not going to tell you the truth. They're not going to do it because they don't want to be perceived as this individual who's being mean or harsh to you. So you have to set ground rules, and it has to come from you as the woman. You have to set ground rules of saying, listen, be honest with me with tact. Don't do it with tact. And that's another thing. Most men don't know how to tell the truth without tact, because when they are telling their truth, they're typically talking to their boys who can handle those type of conversations. So men do have to learn how to communicate with tact, because you can tell someone the truth. It's just how you say it. It's not what you say. It's really how you say it. Intonation is real. How you project a situation is absolutely real. And so if you are mindful of how you are saying it, you're better to get your message across rather than just saying, you make me sick because you do this, or you get on my nerves because you do this. Like, that's not going to be effective for anyone, right? You get on my nerves because you do this. That's not effective. But what you could say is, I struggle with the situation when you do this. It bothers me because I don't know how to handle your emotional flares. Now, that's a very different way of saying you're emotional and you needy and you get on my nerves. So it's really about how you say it. It's really about the intent of what you're saying and how prevalent you really want that conversation to come across. And so you want to make sure, ladies, that you provide a safe space for your guy to be honest. You have to. You have to. If you want to have a true vulnerability conversation with your guy, you want to get to the core of what your issues may be or how they may perceive you, you have to allow, hey, Tiffany, you have to allow them to absolutely be honest with you. So those are some of the reasons why men do not communicate in a relationship or in a marriage. One, because they haven't been taught to, and two, we don't allow them to be honest with us. And so a little bit of the onus they have to take on themselves. Guys need to learn how to have a very expressful conversation and not just walk away. Because if you don't know how to manage your emotions, then that tells you that you have a little work to do, that you have, if you get so worked up that you have to walk away from a situation, that means that you have some deficits in conflict resolution and communication. And so you definitely want to be in a space where, or learning or trying to learn how to communicate effectively. So here's the thing. I'm going to teach you how, and I'm so glad that you asked. So glad that you guys asked, because people don't know how to communicate. They think if we're talking it out, that's communication. Actually, that's not communication. So let's talk about body language. Body language is 93% of what we say. And two words may not have come out of your mouth, but your body language tells the story. And so you have to be very aware of how you show up in the room when you're having these intense conversations with your husband or even in the workplace. You have to be very aware of your body language. Are you standing like this? Are you rolling your neck? Are you looking like what? Like I have a girlfriend who just can't help it. It's written on her face. When she's upset, it's on her face. And I have to constantly say, fix your face, fix your face, fix your face. Because some people are not really aware of what they look like and how they present in the world. And so a great exercise that you can do is practice in your mirror. How do I show up? What do I look like? Because that is going to, thanks, Tiffany, that's going to help you navigate any kind of hard conversation. If you walk up in the room and you ever just walked in the room and you feel the tension and you just know like, oh gosh, this is not going to go well, then that's not productive for anyone. Not productive for anyone. Yeah, Jocelyn, I know, right? It's just not productive for anyone. So you want to make sure that when you are in the room, how you're showing up is that you're saying, listen, I'm here to resolve the conflict. I'm not here to defend myself, because most people think that in arguments, that's what you're supposed to do. Defend. That's not effective communication. That's not effective communication at all. And so I'm going to give you the 3 steps to effective communication, but I really want you guys to understand that it's great to be on the defense sometimes, but if you want effective resolution, being on defense is not really going to help you that much. Because here's the truth. When you're on the defense with your spouse, Jocelyn says, girl, I have no dominion over my face. Girl, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You are not alone in this world. I know so many people like you. You just practice. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. So cute. But in terms of like the idea of conflict, how you resolve that, because here's the thing. If you are trying to win the conflict, right, you got to think about who's your opponent. Your opponent is your spouse. So if you are trying to win the conflict, then that means your spouse is losing. That means the relationship is losing. So trying to win in an argument with your significant other, your spouse, is never going to be beneficial for your relationship. Never. And so I know you guys are like, well, what's the point in arguing if you're not going to win? And I get it. I totally understand why you have that question. So this is why we have to learn how to effectively communicate, because winning is never the goal. Compromise is, and resolution is. Not winning, because when you win, your partner loses. And when your partner loses, then ultimately the relationship loses, right? So I had to learn this, because trust me, I am one that I'm just like, listen, I am right. I know I'm right. When I know I'm right, I want to just argue to a default that I am right. And I know that this is the truth and this is what happened. But guess what? So what? So what if I'm right? If my partner is still angry, if my partner doesn't want to talk to me, if my partner is upset, me being right is not going to resolve that, right? And so here, write this down, write this down, write this down. I want to teach you tonight how to effectively communicate. So communication is 3 parts. The first one is actively listening. Well, what is that? I listen. But actively listening is really engaging in what it is that your spouse or your significant other or your coworker, your boss is saying to you. Really taking it in, hearing what they are saying. Because oftentimes, and think about this, when you were arguing, you're not listening to what they're saying. You're not listening at all. You thinking of your defense. You thinking about how you're gonna come back and how you're gonna how you're gonna get your point across. Right, fighters, yeah. Right, Quinn. Like how you're gonna get your point across. So you're not really listening to what they're saying. And because you aren't listening to what they're saying, you're not understanding their perspective. And that's the second part of effective communication. You have to listen enough to understand their perspective, whether you agree with it or not. You have to listen enough to understand. So those are the first 2 parts of communication, right? You have the act of listening, and then secondly, understanding where your partner is coming from, understanding what their needs are. Because listen, if you're not listening, then you don't know what their needs are. So your person is still in pain. They're still in pain because you don't know the needs. So you could argue for 5 hours. Thank you. Thanks, Renee. Hey guys, that's Renee Butler, who's the Life Over Coach. She's my business manager and she's the bomb. So if you guys are entrepreneurs and really trying to get your business to the next spot, please follow her. It's Renee Butler at the Life Over Coach. She is amazing. She gets my money for me because I used to do crazy stuff like do stuff for free. And she's like, you can't do that. So she makes sure that I get paid. And so my husband loves her. Thank you, Jesus, for Renee Butler. So the first thing is active listening. The second thing, guys, is understanding. You want to understand what it is that your partner is saying. You want to make sure that you are in tune what it is. And then here's the kicker. Number 3 of communication, of effective communication, is responding to the need. I'll repeat that. Responding to the need. Well, what does that mean? What are you talking about the need? So if you were actively listening, then you heard what your partner said. If you were understanding what your partner needs, then you can respond to the need. But if you don't do 1 or 2, then you'll never respond to the need. This is why couples stay hanging in the balance of trying to figure out why are we still fighting about the same thing. Because you're not responding to the need. You're not responding to the need. And so if I keep telling you, honey, I need you to take this out. Honey, I need you to do this. It sounds like I'm nagging, right? But if I say to you one time, honey, can you do this for me? And then you do it, guess what? I'm not nagging. You see how that works? Respond to the need. And so when you get to that space of being able to respond to the need, now you can move. Now you can resolve conflict. Because let me tell you what happens when you don't respond to the need. When you don't respond to the need, what that says to your partner is, I don't care what you want. It does not matter to me because what I want is all that matters. I repeat that. When you don't respond to your partner's needs, what that means is, or how they take it is, I don't care what you want. Your needs mean nothing to me. All I care about is what I need. Now, there's a time and a place to be selfish in a relationship. But if you want your relationship to flourish, not when you are at odds. That is not the time to be selfish. That is the time to want to actively engage your partner and actively want to resolve the issues that you guys have. So that is... This is my lovely mother. I'll give her a call back. Sorry about that, guys. That is how you actively have an effective communication process. Number 1, active listening. Number 2, understanding. Number 3, responding to the need. Thank you so much, Renee. Because if you don't respond, then you're going to keep arguing about the same thing. You will continuously keep arguing about the same thing if you don't respond. How many of you guys have been in a cycle of arguments about the same thing? Yep, we all have been there, because the truth of the matter is that is what happens when you don't know how to communicate. And so now that you guys know what you have to do in your relationships, you have to practice, and it won't feel good. It's not going to come the first time, and it's not easy because, it's so hard to sit on your hands and not defend yourself when you know you're right in a situation, right? So hard. But again, you being right is not going to move your relationship past the conflict. So you have to start thinking differently about your relationship. Not about, am I right? But can we move past this conflict? And what is the best thing that we can do to move past this conflict? So the difference between you having an argument with a coworker, a cousin, or, oh, thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you. I'm glad you needed to hear this. An argument with a coworker, a cousin, or somebody that doesn't matter, is that you don't have to live with them. But when you have to live with your spouse, and y'all got to continue to work together, then you got to figure that thing out. So everything that you do has to be a partnership. Even in arguments, you have to be a partner in your argument. And what that means is that you both have to actively listen, actively try to understand each other, and actively respond to the need. I know, Renee, I've been there too, girl. Respond to the need, because the truth of the matter is that's how you resolve conflict. That's the only way to resolve conflict. Because when you're arguing and arguing and arguing, guess what? Somebody's going to get tired and somebody's going to leave. So it's not that you failed at the marriage. You failed at learning how to resolve conflict. So if you leave one relationship and take that same kind of structure to another relationship, that relationship is probably going to fail too. Because if you haven't learned how to manage conflict in one area, it will show up in another. No, it is not easy. It is not easy, because we all think that we're right. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with us thinking that we're right. Nothing at all. But being right doesn't win the battle. It doesn't win the battle. So I am going to open it up for questions. If you guys have any questions, you could just type it in. So it was a quick lesson tonight, guys. I really want to talk about communication. Thanks, Tiffany. I really want to talk about communication tonight, because so many couples struggle and they get stuck. They get stuck in that cycle, in that loop. They get stuck because they can't get to number 3, which is responding to the need. Because guess what? They haven't heard it. They don't know what the need is. They don't know. So, it's kind of like being stuck in a, what's the little thing called? The merry-go-round. Just stuck. You can't move forward. You can't move past. Hi, Sanika. When you say respond to the need, please elaborate. Okay, I'll give you an example. So say, for instance, okay, so I'm Southern. Don't judge me. I'm from Georgia, but I don't know how to cook. My husband calls me his fake Southern black white. So if our argument is, I need you to start cooking for me. I need you to start making lunch for me. I need you to start making my dinner. I want my dinner to be ready when I get home, like most husbands have, right? So say that's what my husband is saying. And the whole time I'm saying, but I don't cook. You knew that when we got married. I don't cook. Why are you tripping out? We're 12 years in. When I could really just say, because I would be right. He knew when he married me that I didn't know how to cook, and that I never had any intentions on learning how to cook. But instead of me saying, but you knew that when you married me, I could say, okay, tell me what it is that you might like, and let me attempt to try to make it. So him hearing me wanting to do an attempt to meet his need is me resolving a conflict. Now, after he eats it, he might say, you may not ever have to do that for me ever in life again. And then everything is all good. Oh, okay. Quinn had the same question. Can you give an example of responding to the need? So I hope that answered your question, Quinn. Or here's a big one that I hear. A wife is saying that her husband's not spending time with her, and their sex life is struggling. And I mean, if you watch Blackish last night, they were kind of talking about this. That the sex life is struggling, and so she's asking. Yes, you have to get to the root stuff. Absolutely, Sanika. So you're asking your husband to be more affectionate, to schedule sex with you, to want to be with you. So you keep having this argument. You don't want to have love. You don't want to make love to me. You don't want to be with me. So you are the woman who's walking away like, I am not desirable. I'm not desired. Thanks, Tiff. I'm not desirable. I'm not, my husband doesn't desire me. When that may not be it at all. The husband may be tired. The husband may have low T, but because he's not communicating that and he's still not touching his wife, she's walking away feeling like, my husband doesn't want me. He doesn't desire me. And he's walking away like, my wife is stressing me out. And so that makes me not want to be with her. Instead of them really talking about what the issue is, babe, something's not right with me. It's not that I don't want you, but I don't really have a sex drive at all. And it's not because of you. I don't think something is right. Or, babe, I work 12 hours. I'm tired. Let me get some rest and then wake up before will a quickie work, trying to compromise. So that's what I mean by kind of like respond to the need. I'm sorry I had to go the sex route, but most people really understand that. That's like a really good way of showing how two people can be in the same argument but walk away with different perspectives. So the wife is walking away with, my husband doesn't desire me, and the husband's walking away with, my wife nags me and she gets on my nerves, and so that truly makes me not want to be with her. And that may not be the core reason of why they aren't having sex. So it could be medical on his end, and it could just be all kinds of stuff on her end. What happens when you respond to his needs, but when it comes to your needs, it always feels that he puts them to the wayside? Very good question, Jocelyn. And a lot of people struggle with this. Oh, you guys know I have a dog, so I apologize. He will bark he's like a kid. And a lot of people struggle with this because sometimes it takes one person to kind of disrupt the system. So you have to disrupt that cycle of responding to of not responding to the need, because you both have probably been in it for the duration of your relationship. So one has to break the cycle. And every time you break that cycle, that gives you evidence to show to him or to show to her, listen, you needed this from me, and this is how I showed up for you. I need you to show up for me the same way that I show up for you, because that's what makes marriage works. And so, yeah, compromise, absolutely. So that's what makes marriage work. And if you aren't willing to do that for me, this is what that says to me. It tells me I'm not important. So you have to be open enough to use those words. And men too. Men, you got to be, because there's a lot of men who are in relationships and they don't feel desired. They don't feel wanted, or they feel like they're a meal ticket, or they feel like, they're just working to take care of her and she's not appreciative. And that might not be the case at all. But because they're not communicating, people are walking away with all kind of ideas about the same situation. So you really have to get into a space to really talk about it and get to the core, as you said, get to the core of those issues to ensure that you guys are not creating situations that really aren't there. Because half the time in relationships, people create situations that don't even exist, because they let their feelings take over. So if I said earlier in the beginning that you are in charge of your feelings, nobody can make you feel any kind of way, you got to chin check your feelings. And so the best way to chin check your feelings is to have the conversation. Hey, the other night when you said this, I walked away kind of feeling this way, but I just want to make sure that that wasn't your intent, that that's not what you meant. And give the person the opportunity to say, no, of course that's not what I meant. Or, no, yeah, that's what I meant. So if they told you, yeah, that's what I meant, and it was negative and derogatory, then that's a conversation that you can have. Where if they tell you, no, that's not what I meant, then that's a relief that you can let go, that, was there because you created it. So oftentimes we just really have to be aware and very open to the process of communicating. So guys, I want to thank you for being with me tonight. If you have any more questions, this video will be up, so you can just put your questions in and I'll go back. Just tag me in it and I'll come back and answer your questions. No problem. Thanks so much for the great questions tonight. These are some really good questions. And if you felt like this was very beneficial for you, go ahead and share it with somebody and say, hey, Dr. Ross probably just changed my life. I would gladly appreciate it, because my goal is to ensure that everybody is functioning in such a healthy way that they are getting the love that they desire. So thank you guys for joining me tonight, and we'll be back next week. Thanks, guys, and have a blessed night. Bye-bye.